Welcome back, everybody. Today we are talking about Solana as it's highly undervalued right now. We'll be running through some bullish news, some chart analysis, and price predictions, so let's hop right in. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that there are now 353, and actually the total is now above 400 total projects building or having built on the Solana ecosystem. So we're just seeing more and more projects come to the forefront. We're seeing legitimate projects. We're seeing things like Audius, which is tackling the music licensing via NFTs. We see things from DeFi protocols like Lido and Orca to infrastructure to wallets. So we're just seeing this whole ecosystem basically expand and explode over the last year or so. So just over a little over a year ago, there were less than 200 projects. We're now more than double that. And they're serious projects. It's not just like, hey, this person KYC'd, it's a random project. These are projects that are up and running and have user bases currently. So really exciting to see. Obviously, attractive applications means more users. The opportunity to reach more users means more devs, and obviously that's that flywheel of just consistent improvement for the blockchain. Now, the next thing I want to touch on is this interesting look into Solana DEX users. So just recently in the last month or so, we saw this huge catalyst with an increase in Orca decentralized exchange users. And this came from a few integrations they had with Solana applications and projects. So one being Steppen, where, the NFT project that pays you to essentially exercise, they integrated with that and opened up swapping for that token. So that increased volume. They've done it with a couple other applications. But imagine what this could do as more successful applications come to Solana, what this could do for total DEX users, total DEX volume. That's tens of thousands, actually over 100,000 extra users getting involved on a decentralized exchange on Solana just over the last few months, right? So if we're able to add at that rate tens of thousands every month, that's a huge amount of people coming into Solana. More users means a higher token price, means more demand on the blockchain, all good all around for us as Solana holders. So one of the final things I want to talk about from the news side is the NFT marketplace for Solana. So Magic Eden has actually topped OpenSea in daily trading volume. And on the weekly basis, it actually did more transactions than OpenSea. So Magic Eden has seen roughly in the last week 275,000 daily transactions, compared to OpenSea's 50,000. Now that's a huge margin. Obviously, if we're talking straight dollars and cents, OpenSea is still going to have that edge, 35 million versus 10 million on Magic Eden. But at the same time, if you guys have been following Solana NFTs were essentially not a thing last year. And now to have them be not a thing to consisting of a large majority of the volume on Solana is huge. Now, if Solana NFTs keep picking up the pace that they've picked up, if they start to move into, the monetary value of Ethereum NFTs, this is going to be massive for the blockchain. And I think regardless, Solana NFTs are going to be a huge way for Solana to get more exposure and in turn have a little bit more demand for transactions to use Solana on the blockchain. So the last piece I want to talk about here is this new update that Solana came out with. It's called the Solana Pay feature. So now you can request transaction requests, and this enables merchants to bring on-chain interactivity to their purchase flows. And that sounds a little bit like, marketing jargon, like what the heck does that mean? So I went down, did a little bit of digging, and essentially what this is going to enable teams and companies to do is, and this is via Jordan Sexton, he's a engineer at Solana. So what he's saying is that it's now possible to bring any Solana transaction into the real world through an interactive request between a checkout app and a mobile wallet, which will enable NFT minting, dynamic discounts, tokenized loyalty programs, and so much more. So you can interact with a company's checkout app, and they're going to immediately be able to tell, a lot of the aspects of your wallet and activate some of these features like dynamic discounts based on, how many times you've purchased or et cetera, actual more catered loyalty programs. So if they're able to really fully flesh this out, this could be a big selling point to corporate companies. So, your Apple, Google, Shopify, a lot of these big companies, they all have checkout apps. They all have customer and user experience that they need to be catering to. If this can help that, that is a ton of open space, ton of addressable market for Solana to go into. They don't just have to cater to a crypto market now. They can cater to large institutions and offer them, payment services, which could be very, very interesting. So if they're able to grab some of that revenue, I think that's super, super bullish for Solana and the ability for them to hang around, and not only hang around, but be successful. So with that, I want to hop into a little bit of chart analysis. It's going to look, at least for right now, just a little bit more complicated than it usually does. And today's a special day because we're going to be using Ichimoku trends because this is going to show us exactly why this exact moment is so important for the Solana chart. So just a quick, super 10-second overview of what Ichimoku is without going too deep into the details. Essentially, it is 5 trend lines that tend to kind of basically tell you where the chart could be going and indicate that as best to its ability. So the 3 lines I want us to focus on right now is this red line, which is called the Kijun Sen. This is the highest point in the last 26 days plus the lowest point in the last 26 days divided by 2, so the average of those two. And then these are the 52-day and 26-day moving average respectively, and then we can see that that is kind of tracking the trend and difference between those two, and that's kind of what you need to know for what we're about to go through. So now I'm going to explain why we have this on the chart. So first of all, why this exact moment is so key for Solana is because we're going through what's called in Ichimoku terms, what's called a Kumo twist. So that's when you see this 52-day moving average come below this 26. So you see the green going below the red. That is a Kumo twist. And so we see that going both ways. When we see these lines intersect or overlap, we see a severe change in the direction of the chart. So these Kumo shifts are essentially able to say, okay, we are going to, with a high probability, go to a swing high or a swing low. So we'll see in the past what this looked like, right? So we saw a Kumo twist right here, and we saw a swing low, boom, boom, boom. We saw a Kumo twist back here. We saw a swing high, boom, boom, boom. And so this is a good way just to get an idea of if we're at, a breaking point, whether it's upwards or downwards. It's really hard to say where we're going to be going now, but we're going to try to break that down as best we can. Now, remember that this is going to be important as we go into the actual kind of price analysis and where we're going to be going. Remember, this Kijun Sen is right around the $65, $66 mark. So as we get into price analysis, let's remember that. And then let's also, with the price analysis, remember that we are in a Kumo twist, which a lot of the times can indicate a swing high or a swing low, so aggressive movement to the upside or downside. And let's keep that in the back of our minds as we go through and bring out this Fibonacci extension. So bringing back, Fibonacci retracement, bringing this back here, we can start kind of breaking down some of the key levels that are to come. The first thing I would note that kind of makes me somewhat bullish is that the RSI is already playing in the lower bound here. We're not up in this area where usually we have a lot of space with to work to the downside, for example, here down. But now what we're looking at is, playing so low. The other times we've been this low, here, here. Almost every single time we've played this low, aside from here, because we actually moved to oversold in that case. But every other time we've had a move to the upside after tapping this low of an RSI. Now, we haven't been quite this low for too long. So, we could obviously drop back down to that kind of oversold area and then, come back up. So we could do something like this. So I'm not saying that it's not possible we go down further, right? Because that's kind of what the Kumo twist would entail, either high up or high down. But at the same time, our RSI does not have much room to move further to the downside, right? Because this is kind of where oversold is. It really never goes past this marker right here. So it would be really, really hard to push this, at least from the history of the chart, to the downside. But nevertheless, always possible. So now that we're looking at where we could be going here in the near future, let's look at a couple of key price points. So first of all, we have this, pretty much solidified support right around $44-$45. Obviously, we wicked all the way down to about 35, but 44-45 seems to be kind of that solid support. What we're going to notice here is that Kijun Sen, which was that kind of lagging trend line that we talked about before, the red line, that's right here. So this is kind of, in my opinion, this is the channel that we'll be watching Solana play in for a little bit until we stand on top of 65-ish and then go for this, 90-ish mark. I think short-term, mid-term, our target is about, $92, $90, right around here. I think the tip of this resistance right here would be kind of the effective short to mid-term target. Long term, I'm way out there. I'm really bullish on Solana. I mean, I think this thing could eventually go above $1,000, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about what's immediately actionable. So in my opinion, we're going to have somewhat of this, 3-level straddle, if you will. So we have this kind of these key levels between 45 and 65, which will likely play within for quite a while. And then once we break that 65 up here, we look to 92, 91 up here, right above that $88 fib. At that $88 fib, right above it, we have that $93 resistance right here. So that's where I'm kind of looking. I think 65, if we do break out and bounce, I think that we'll likely have, something like this, bounce. I think we'll almost shoot right to, and have a good chance to shoot right to the 60 to 65-ish range. I think we'll likely get rejected from that the first time around. And then, going from there, it's anyone's guess. But I think if we are going to bounce, our target's 65 short-term, 90-ish mid-term. If we're going back down to the low side, we'll probably look at a break of the support here at 44 down to 35, and then hopefully a bounce at 35. If we don't get a bounce at 35, we're looking, below 30 at that point. So if we do break to the downside from this Kumo twist, we are looking at 35-ish. If we break to the upside, actually we could be going lower than 30 if we break to the downside on the Kumo twist. If we break to the upside, we could be looking at best case midterm, back up to the $90-ish range. But that's everything I have for you guys today. Hopefully that was helpful. I know it took a little bit of bearing with me with the Ichimoku. I think that it just really points out how critical of a point we're in here at Solana. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.